What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So it appears that something that has been quite obvious for a while has only become more obvious. I hate to sound like this because you will get accused of defending a corporation, but at the same time, the reality check is actually right here for many of us in the gaming community. So I'll state my opinions unapologetically, and so in the comment section, maybe you can go after me if you feel like I've said something off. That's fair game. I get it. We all have our opinions, but sometimes opinions will most likely not align. And even sometimes you want to be considerate nonetheless. So I'm trying my best to be. But this is something that I feel has always been right there in front of us. Gotham Knights was actually released, or actually planned to be released, on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One consoles. Eventually, after getting some trailers, there was a silent and then vocal announcement on why the game was not going to be coming on that platforms. Over the course of this time, I'd been in a position watching through and seeing what's going on in the game development world and the video game industry, seeing that it appeared to me that there was a trend that the old consoles were just not powerful enough to take on the ambition of video games today, especially with graphics. Most importantly than anything, games have started to look way better. The recommendations and even the expectations are high. So when you look at a video game and its recommendations today on maybe the PC specs, you'll see that they're actually creeping up more and more. And the old consoles did not have anything like that. Which brings me to my own conversation where we look at Cyberpunk 2077. Remember, Cyberpunk 2077 had a very, very bad launch because the PlayStation 4 version was pretty bad. Now, this is not to excuse CD Projekt Red of them not providing quality for the PlayStation console, because if everybody knows, this game was announced when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One consoles were the consoles on the platform. So them providing the game in that quality for those consoles, and especially the PlayStation 4, is inexcusable. But I'm also highlighting this because it shows what I think Gotham Knights did to dodge major bullets. When Gotham Knights made the switch to going to the new consoles, I think most people were confused, thinking, oh, it means that Gotham Knights is a next-gen game. No, it was just a game that was supposed to be on the past gen and next gen, but then in the middle of development somewhere, according to their official statement, they decided that they wanted to give players the very best experience, which is crazy because now Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red are claiming that they are no longer going to be providing support for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, not even the promised DLC. Now, whatever criticism that they get for this, they got to eat it. Because if at the onset somebody made the decision to say, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we are not able to make this game for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in quality, the backlash would have been heavy, but it would not have led to the colossal madness that we're seeing right now. So any studio that's actually taking the time to polish PS4 versions and Xbox One versions, I salute you all. That is the studios out there making the Hogwarts Legacy game, the folk making Marvel Midnight Suns, and if the game is not necessarily as complex, but still simple, but still coming to the PS4 like Street Fighter 6 and some other games, I say shout out to those developers because they seem to be understanding the context of where things are and making the games to suit those platforms. Elden Ring, you get a shout out too, because you guys brought a big old massive world into these consoles. Regardless of the limitations, you made it work. But some other games don't seem to be in that position where they want to spend more time in optimization. They did not necessarily scale or weigh the project and its ambition. And so that is already on their part poor planning. So here's my critique for the development and the leadership direction at CD Projekt Red, as well as Warner Bros. Games Montreal. In the game development cycle, many game developers, especially the veteran ones, have always said that you must be willing to plan extensively and understand that your planning phase is going to affect the entirety of your game. So what we saw with Gotham Knights, and less of a tongue lashing for them, is it didn't seem like whoever was making the big decisions was considering the potential limitations. So in the future, this is something that I'm sure they've learned a big lesson on, because you really got to plan, extensively. Now, to give them a little bit of credit, they at least made the decision months earlier saying, we're just going to have to be honest with our audiences and tell them that we're not able to bring this thing out here. Unlike Cyberpunk 2077, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand that I followed this game very carefully. They made sure that the reviewers could not show the PlayStation versions of this game. Cyberpunk, I think, was reviewed in the very first few weeks before release or days only on the PC version. CD Projekt Red made sure to block those PlayStation 4 reviews until I think maybe after launch or something. I remember specifically SkillUp mentioning this as an issue. So for us here in the gaming community, this shows that your skepticism towards game development companies is not unfounded, number one. But number two, the limitations of the last generation consoles are showing off right now. In fact, my heart is racing in concern for Hogwarts Legacy. I'm telling you this stuff because as much as they want to optimize the game for the PlayStation 4 console, when people see the sacrifices that get made, that is, if the game is as ambitious as they're claiming it to be, it might disappoint some fans. Now, this is not to say that people will write it off. Some people who've been playing on console, 30 FPS games, they may not mind. They may say, you know what? This is what I can actually play on right now. I appreciate the fact that they brought this experience for me. In fact, I feel it's actually more likely to drop that game on the PS4. It doesn't have the online component that Gotham Knights has. So that's actually something that works in its favor. But I thought I'd share this because this is a very interesting aspect of things. In fact, if you want to go further and even look at further game releases, you can say things like, well, maybe God of War, maybe Jedi, Survivor and all the others. Well, you're making a very great point, but you have to understand that those games are going to build upon what they already have. They're going to build on the same engine. They're going to use the same assets. They're going to use the same similar code. They're going to use similar, parameters. So their games will be able to run on the PlayStation 4 console because they already have it, already in a sense dug down. So God of War is going to look like God of War. You're going to get the next gen version that has the, functionality of next gen, sure, but it's still going to look like your God of War from PlayStation 4, which is not a bad looking game anyways, but you're still going to get that quality. You look at other, titles that have actually done it before, they're going to basically just stick with what it is that they know. But then if you go back and look at, say, other games that want to improve on ambition, like Insomniac Spider-Man 2, the game is already been announced to be developed exclusively for the PlayStation 5. So there is not going to be any room to bring a PlayStation 4 version because the PlayStation 4 is not going to be able to run that game. There is no way, because there was a leaked conference that they were having in Insomniac showing them the PS5 hardware. And the, heads of, the whole enterprise there were saying things like the streaming capabilities will allow for them to be able to do some really unique things in Spider-Man 2. Those streaming capabilities are not available on the PlayStation 4 console. And Sony did not do too many refreshes. And so if you look at even Cyberpunk 2077, I think there are legacy versions of the Xbox One, X or so that are going to still get the updates, but the traditional Xbox One is not going to be able to do it. So this has been a mess. This console generation transition has been a colossal mess because the ambition of these games kept growing bigger, but the console manufacturers did not only release their console ambitions somewhat late, they put it in a position where they weren't necessarily just as available as the other consoles when they came out. So it's a very complex scenario and a complex situation, but I just wanted to share my thoughts on all of this. But at the end of the day, like I said, I want to hear what you think in the comment section. Talk to me. Peace out.